All right, guys. So Greg Palast is a legendary investigative journalist. And so what he's been doing lately, he's been on the beat of trying to figure out, hey, what really went down in this last election, right? What really went down in this last election? Because, look, keep it real. Some things just didn't smell right. I mean, I don't know what you guys think of it, but I'll tell you straight up, of Trump's 3 campaigns, 2016, 2020, and 2024, in my estimation, the 2024 campaign was the single worst of all of them. I mean, we're talking about he mimicked fellatio on a microphone on stage a couple days before the election. You remember that? He lied about, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the pets. He was threatening to deport legal immigrants. He made some joke about like physically assaulting and fighting Kamala Harris. He was talking about Arnold Palmer's cock. The list of shit that happened that was just like, okay, this is weird, but I mean that in the worst possible way. It was endless. It was endless. Now, at the same time, Kamala came out of the gates hot. People don't remember that early period where she had a little honeymoon phase there. She came out hot. They were calling Republicans weird, and it was popping off. They were talking about J.D. Vance having sex with couches, spreading the meme far and wide. They were talking about $6,000 child tax credit, banning price gouging by grocery stores, cracking down on medical debt. For a hot minute, they were all in, and it was feeling like, oh, we're on to something here, right? We're on to something. Now, to be fair, as time went by, the Biden people took over the Kamala campaign, and it did get worse as time went by. It wasn't as hot as when it came out of the gates and they picked Tim Walz and all that great stuff. But then election night happened, and it was seemingly over very quickly. Trump won every swing state. He won the popular vote by 1.4 percentage points. But Greg Palast has been diving into the numbers here, and he's like, okay, let's see what actually went on. Let's go to these states. Let's get some public records, some documents. Let's sort through the paperwork. Let's get to the bottom of this. And what he found, ladies and gentlemen, is an absolute colossal bombshell that all of you need to hear, because this drastically changes what your perception should be and what the country's perception should be about where we are right now, because you're seeing it and I'm seeing it. Everybody's cucking themselves to MAGA fully or partially, right? They shouldn't be doing that. They should. Okay, watch this. Here we go. Look at this.
Who won or who lost the election?
It's real simple. If not for vote suppression tactics, that's a fancy word for shafting people of color out of their vote, young people out of their vote, Kamala Harris would have won 3,565,000 votes. That's the number of voters that were denied the right to vote because they were purged or they were challenged or they had their provisional ballot thrown out.
3,565,000 votes that were thrown out. Excuse you? Why aren't more people talking about this? Why is this not a much, much, much bigger deal? And by the way, this is the difference, right, between the right and the left. Republicans genuinely and sincerely lose the election in 2020. Wasn't even close. Biden won by what? 3.5 percentage points or something like that? Millions and millions, 7 million votes, whatever it was. It was a lot. Trump, from day one, wrong. I won. I got it. Everybody knows I got it. They're lying. They're cheating. Here's some fake stories that I found that I'll say as if they're real. And all the Republicans, yes, sir, they go right along and they start doing it. Here we have a story, a real investigative journalist giving you some real information about over 3.5 million votes that Kamala got that they threw out. Nobody's even talking about it. It's not going to make it to CNN. It's not going to make it to MSNBC. It's not going to make it to any Democratic politicians. Nobody in the media is going to talk about it, even in new media, where we're supposed to tell you the truth, right? Turns out we got a lot of fake new media around us. Turns out we got a lot of fake independent media. They're new corporate media, and nobody's going to tell you this.
Let me give you some of the numbers. The reason I'm giving you numbers, and I've waited so long to make this report, is that I have to get the numbers from the government agencies, particularly something we call the Elections Assistance Commission. So people don't realize, I used to be a professor of statistics. I was a forensic economist. This is my specialty, the numbers, which I usually did for attorneys general and the U.S. Department of Justice and other government agencies. And so these are calculations I would do, and I have done for federal courts. So we had, are you ready for this? According to the Elections Assistance Commission, the official numbers, we had 4,776,706 voters purged from the voter rolls wrongly. And I'm not making this up. I had the guys from that work with the Microsoft and Amazon go through every single purge name in 2 states, Georgia and Wisconsin.
4.7 million votes were purged wrongly. 4.7 million votes. Guys, we've gone through this. Go if you haven't watched the segment that I did, I believe it was the week after the election or 2 weeks after the election, where we talk about the election rigged conspiracy theories. Go watch that segment right now. And Greg Palast is in that segment too, and he breaks down for you how they purge the votes, how they purge them. Apparently, it's the first time ever a citizen can object to another citizen voting, and then that leads to the vote being pulled, and then you have to fill out a provisional ballot, and the provisional ballot doesn't get counted. Right? He explains all of that. He explains, you guys all know about the voting lists that get purged. The voter rolls get purged, where they pull all these different, we think this person's dead, we think this person moved, and they pull, but they do it wrongly all the time, and they do it predominantly in poor areas, working class areas, where minority communities live. This is what they do. This is what they do.
We took those 2 states. And we found, for example, in Georgia, that 198,000 voters, we actually have their names and addresses, were wrongly removed from the voter rolls. And you'll be shocked, overwhelmingly, voters of color. In Wisconsin, almost every voter removed by the purge was either a black voter in Milwaukee or a student in Madison. We had this brand new business this year. Of vigilante voter challenges. We talked about that on the air, where for the first time.
This is what I just mentioned. And he's got a whole thing on this. You guys should check it out. Greg Palast talks about this in detail.
Very first time, an individual voter like Greg Palast can say, Tom Hartman does not live in Portland. He shouldn't be allowed to vote. This is new. A third of a million, 317,000 voters were challenged by the beginning of August. NAACP said it was over 200,000 just Georgia alone by Election Day. We had 2.12 million mail-in ballots rejected, and that one
2.12 million mail-in ballots rejected. That's the other thing. They have all these tricks that they use, the Republicans have. One of the things they do is they'll make it so that they're absolute form Nazis, where they go, hey, the date is a little illegible, throw it out, right? Or you didn't put the date, throw it out. Or you don't have your middle initial, you need to put your middle initial. Or you don't have your middle name, you didn't put your middle name. Or you do have your middle name, you actually weren't supposed to put your middle name. They find ways. They find ways to throw it out if they want to throw it out. And they do it predominantly in the Democratic areas. That's what happens.
Mean anything. If it were random, it's not random, Tom. According to the state of Washington, which did a study, you're 400% more likely to have your mail-in ballot rejected if you're black than if you're white. And
400% more likely to have your mail-in ballot rejected if you're white, if you're black than if you're white. 400%.
Washington state has the least voter suppression of any state in the union. And according to the U.S. Civil Rights Commission, which did a study, they found that the chance of your ballot being rejected, mail-in or in precinct, is 900% higher if you're black than if you're white. We have over 500,000 votes that were spoiled. That is, they said they couldn't be read. And again,
that's another one. Spoiled ballots. Like, oh yeah, we can't read this. Okay, I need everybody to understand the idea that they're doing this perfectly, systematically, with objectivity in mind, neutrality in mind. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. We know Republican states and Republican counties have a history of doing anything and everything they can to get an upper hand and screw the other side, right? That's, you go back to the legacy of the civil rights movement and to Jim Crow. Poll tests, literacy tests, have one polling place open for all of the black people in a giant community, have like 12 open for the white area.
It's very, very racial. We had 1.2 million provisional ballots rejected. People think, they get this, you go in and they say, oh, you've been challenged, you've been purged, or we can't find your name on the rolls here, fill out this provisional ballot. 43% of those ballots, according to the U.S. government, 43% of provisional ballots, and there were about 4 million in the last, or about 3 million in the last election. 43% of those were thrown in the garbage.
43% of provisional ballots are thrown in the garbage.
Overwhelmingly voters of color. And in fact, if you're black, Hispanic, or Latino, or Asian American, the chance you'll be given a provisional ballot is 300% higher than if you're white. We're talking, there's some double counting here. The vote suppression factor is about 2.3%. Again, Kamala Harris would have even won the popular vote, 3.565 million extra votes. She
would have even won the popular vote. He's not done.
She would have won the states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. These are pretty exacting calculations, Tom. And so she would have won with 286 electoral votes.
You guys remember when I did my predictions? What did I say was the floor for Kamala Harris? The least I could see her winning. I believe the exact number was 286 electoral votes. According to investigative journalist Greg Palast, that's exactly what you got. Why are we the only ones talking about this? Why is Tom Hartman and Greg Palast, why are they the only ones doing the Lord's work? Look, I think I know the answer, right? I think I know the answer. The answer is people on the Democratic side, liberals, leftists, and Democrats, they feel like, well, look, we went after the right for their election denialism for years, rightly so. And so now if we start saying these things, then we're going to look like hypocrites. But here's the thing, y'all. They were lying about Trump winning. He didn't win. We've had 1,000 different forensic analyses, and they all came back with the same thing. Remember when they did the Arizona audit, and they thought, oh, this is going to make Trump win Arizona? Not only did Trump not win it, Biden won by more votes than we thought he won by on Election Day. Right? Over 60 court cases thrown out. Even MAGA judges looked at their evidence and said, this isn't evidence. Get the fuck out of my courtroom. You didn't win this election. So when they said it, they were lying. They are wrong. When we talk about this, it's real. It's real. So we have to get out of the mindset. What are they going to say? How are they going to react? Are we going to look like hypocrites? You tell the truth, and you tell the truth relentlessly, and you let the chips fall where they may. But you let everybody know the reality of the situation. And virtually nobody knows what I'm telling you right now, what I'm showing you right now. And everybody will just continue to act as if, oh, Trump won in a historic landslide. It was like FDR. It was like Ronald Reagan. He's got a mandate, and all the Democrats are capitulating or semi-capitulating. Look at how Fetterman is acting, for example. Humiliating. And not at all what the American public voted for and what they want. Is that what they've wanted? They wanted Trump on day one to sign an executive order to raise drug prices and increase corruption in his cabinet. Is that what they wanted? They wanted 1,500 pardons for January 6th rioters and insurrectionists and criminals, including literal fredophiles and cop assaulters. Is that what they wanted? They didn't want that. Don't let these people gaslight you. Don't let them gaslight you. They're full of shit, and they don't care about it. You got to fight back. Huge story. Share this as far and wide as you possibly can so everybody knows the truth, and hope that this leads to a mindset change. I mean, look, I'm not naive enough to come out here, let's do an investigation, and let's get this in front of a committee, and let's get back in there, because we know nobody has the balls or the spine to do that. None of them do. Not a single one of them do. I wish they did. I wish they would do an investigation. I wish they would present this stuff. I wish the outcome would change. Right? But at the very least, go out there, tell the truth, let the chips fall where they may, and don't stop fighting. Because we need to flip the mindset back into resistance, defiance. Not in a million years am I going to work with this guy. All the things he's doing are bad. And we have our ideas, which we will fight for and which we will implement. I'm sorry, but we need to have the North Star now. The North Star, we're going to defeat Trump and Trumpism and MAGA. And the North Star, we want a higher minimum wage. We want the PRO Act so everybody can join a union. We want universal health care. We want free college. We want to abolish medical debt. We want a 4-day work week. We want to end the corruption and get money out of politics. We want to stop all this insane warmongering going on. This is what we need to do. Stop arming Israel. This is what we need to do. We have to have a North Star. This is the North Star. This is a bombshell report, and I fear it's not going to get nearly as much burn and as much spread as it should. One more thing. This went kind of viral the other day, and this is related to what we were just talking about. This was a moment that you got some eyebrow raising going on. People were like, huh. There was another clip where Trump said, he talked about the election was rigged, and it sounded like he was talking about this election. Now, the counter argument is people say, no, he was actually talking about 2020. It was a weird transition in the sentence where it wasn't clear he was talking about 2020, right? But whatever you think of that, put that aside. This is another one that raised eyebrows. Listen to what Trump said the other day.
And then he journeyed to Pennsylvania, where he spent
talking about Elon.
Like a month and a half campaigning for me in Pennsylvania. And he's a popular guy, and he was very effective. And he knows those computers better than anybody, all those computers, those vote-counting computers. And we ended up winning Pennsylvania like in a landslide, so it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So thank you to Elon.
He knows those computers, those vote-counting computers, better than anyone. And we ended up winning Pennsylvania in a landslide. Thank you, Elon. All right. You make of that whatever you will, but curious. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.